So it's Friday before the end of the Bali Climate Talks. The talks were meant to end today, but they're not going to end till Saturday. The contentious points at the moment are for the post-Kyoto deal, so after 2012, what happens then? But we do know quite a bit about what's going on in terms of revisions to Kyoto and some of the details that will go into that post-2012 framework. The uncontentious stuff we know. Of course, this is all relative. To go into all the details of this and the upshot and the overview and all the implications, to make a judgment on how effective this is all being is too much of a task for me. But what I want to do is just summarise some of the main positive things that are happening at Bali, and a couple of problems with the whole process as well. So I'll list there's 8 things I want to go into. First of all, the complexity of the situation, the whole negotiating process. Then one of the ideas I've heard, which I liked, which is linking national cap and trade schemes with international climate funds. Progress on deforestation. Australia's position in the talks. The 2-degree consensus, which we seem to be nearing, which is the idea that 2 degrees is the maximum amount of climate change which we can tolerate, and all the talk should embody this idea, and the target should be based on the science which keeps emissions at a level which will make more than 2 degrees of climate change unlikely. So there were a few countries hanging out from this, but it seems more and more likely that there's going to be a consensus on 2 degrees, and obviously that has implications for emissions reductions. And the obvious solution to this is contraction and convergence, which I won't really go into, so you can look that up yourself. Then there's a CDM review, the Clean Development Mechanism, one of the most controversial parts of Kyoto. Then there's adaptation fund, and finally technology transfer. So in terms of the complexity, quite a few of the delegates have reported overload. You can read the bulletins coming out from the talks, the IISD, so that's International Institute of Sustainable Development. They have I can't remember the name of it is. They have a daily bulletin from the ENB, Environmental News Bulletin, every day from a conference. And one of the running themes through this seemed to be the fact that there's so much going on at once, in parallel, and then interrelating working groups, because there's now several years of history. We're at COP13 now. That the whole thing's becoming a bit unwieldy, and it seems that this might actually become a really serious and fundamental problem for the whole process going forward. So we might have to come to some sort of way to resolve that. And bearing in mind, although some of the sessions are only half an hour in length, which is ludicrously short to get any real negotiation going, the whole conference already lasts 2 weeks. So perhaps that seemed to be a regular problem, and they're going to have to come to some sort of arrangement on that. Then one of the interesting ideas is using a cap and trade scheme to fund international projects. So in Germany, they've decided that they're going to auction allowances for their emissions trading scheme, their fraction of the European Union emissions trading scheme. Now, every economist will tell you that auctioning is the way to get the best performance out of emissions trading scheme, and every environmentalist will tell you that they back this up, and you shouldn't be grandfathering projects. You shouldn't be giving the big polluters large permits and saying, oh, just because you pollute a lot of the moment, we're going to, just give you all those permits. It's basically a tax break. So it also gives a perverse incentive to some companies just to have ridiculously polluting facilities, just so that they can then take a couple of measures and have an excess of credits which they can sell on. So auctioning is a brilliant idea, but then using this auction, having a proportion of that to move into the international arena and to pay, for example, from Germany's case, as it's a developed country, to pay for adaptation towards climate change in India and China, to pay for a fraction of technology transfer so India and China can take on real emissions reduction targets, which they are at the end of the day going to have to do, even though they're not responsible for, even though they don't have responsibility to do so, because responsibility is one thing, but it doesn't mean much if you're going to destroy the planet. So I thought this was a really interesting idea. It's part of the, I believe it's the Warner-Lieberman bill, which is going through Congress at the moment, but in a smaller way. I believe it's 2.5% or 3% of the bill, of the funding from the bill, will go towards protecting forests in the developing world. So that's an interesting idea that the Germans have bought into broadly, and the Americans slightly. On the issue of deforestation, there was some really blurred language. Some countries trying to broaden the idea of protecting forests so that even if they're already protected areas, they still get carbon credits. So just basically taking advantage of apparent funding for protecting forests. Obviously that would fail the test of additionality. If you're not getting anything new, if these forests are already protected, then great, keep protecting them, you know, but we're not going to pay you to keep protecting them because you've obviously decided you've got other reasons for doing so. But that language was chopped out. It looks like this deforestation reduced deforestation schemes are going to stay as part of a framework. They're going to be on the national scale, which can reduces leakage. It's another technical term. I don't have time to explain all these terms. You can look it up if you like. So it reduces leakage if you keep it nationally, and it's so a lot of the NGOs only support such schemes when they're nationally bound, whereas some groups currently trying to say we should have subnational forest protection schemes. The key debate of the moment seems to be whether or not degradation is included as well as deforestation. Deforestation is easily monitored from satellite footage, but degradation, whereby the under canopy is removed and can result in really significant carbon emissions, is very difficult to measure. So there's got to be a balance there.